Here is the concept of sectorism, the second arm of the three-part stand of the I-Code methodology. Sectorism is about the three sectors in our societies coming together to work to build the nation. The public sector is led by government officials, where we have government institutions. The private sector is where we have business enterprises, where we have business executives leading the sector. Then the informal sector, or the people's sector, you can call it civil society sector, is the communities, usually led by NGOs. Now, the public sector has employers and employees, same as private sector, but the fraction of these people is very small compared with the informal sector. The informal sector is composed of citizens who do not have gainful employment, especially in the public and private sectors. And this is the critical mass of the society. Sectorism provides the ideology of the concept, which is about bringing people together on one template. But as you know, the public sectors and the private sectors are organized and they work together under an economic policy called PPP in Nigeria and in many other countries, which is the public and private partnership. See, the public and private partnership eliminates the role that the informal sector can play, directly or indirectly. The informal sector leadership has no hand in the budget of the country. They do not participate in the decision making on how to implement the budget. The public and private sectors commit prebendalism in order to sideline and marginalize the ordinary people. They love themselves so much, and that is why the former CBN governor of Nigeria, having experienced all of this, considered the country as a nation of two tribes, the rich and the poor. And I agree with him somehow, because the rich people, despite their differences in terms of tribe, ethnicity, religion, and whatsoever, they are bonded. They work together to diminish the rest of the citizens. You see, all the vehicles you see in Nigeria, all the properties, everything you see in Nigeria, all the values belong to these people, belongs to the players, the captains of industries in these two sectors. It's unfortunate that the ordinary person has been totally kept aside, sidelined, to depend on the captains of the industries, of the public and private sectors, to worship them in most cases. And the ordinary people in most cases also do not know their rights. Nobody is thinking about bringing the ordinary person into the national strategy. But this is what I-Code has also to offer. With I-Code, The individual in the village can become a member of an enterprise at the immediate community where he belongs to. And that enterprise will be taken to the center of government through the people's sector or the informal sector to join the public and private sectors. This is what we are doing here. So the sector conglomeration accommodates everybody, and that is inclusivity in action. That's the ideology of ICODE. Having mentioned the ideals of ICODE in universalism, now the ideology before the idea itself. The idea is the third arm or the third leg of the tripod stand of ICODE, which is the 12 by 12 matrix. So at this point, we can have 36 ministries of government, 3 key sectors at the horizontal level on the template, and the 12 thematic variables, the thematic foundational stones by universalism to form 36 state governments, 3 by 12, using the core values of civilization, which I will present next. The core values of civilization derived from the core values of life. And these are the core values of civilization, components of the establishment of our institutions. This is where we have to compose the establishment of our institutions using inventory, litigation, constitution, politics, socials, economics, manpower and labor, production, services, values, allocation, security, and finance. As you can see, is the core values of civilization by occupation for establishing the industries. So we are going to create these industries to enable us carry out governance operations. And this is the core values of civilization by expertises for establishing professional lines. So these are the profession that can be used to conduct services in these occupational lines or industries. Database management, legals, lawmaking and oversighting, coordination and leadership, well-being, budgets, skills and recruitment, productivity management, services management, needs assessment, policing and defense, finance. Every human being has connection with these professions. These are the occupational and professional lines we need to develop the core values of life, to develop accountability, justice, rule of law, and the rest of them. So the core values of civilization is being used to structure the sectors conglomeration. The sectors conglomeration where we have the 3 sectors coming together, and in each case the industries, the industrial lines and the subunits of government institutions can be found in the sector conglomeration. And these core values of civilization by occupation and profession will be required to establish the body component of each of those institutions that join the conglomeration. But particularly, this is being used at the immediate communities because the ordinary people are easier to access as they seek for solutions for their life and livelihood. They can be called to order to join the national strategy through their immediate community formations, and they will be happy to do so. So at that point, we'll create a structure for them, 12 departments in each of the 144 composition of the 12 by 12 matrix, 12 for the departments and 12 for the professionals or professional lines in each of the departments. So each department, inventory for instance, must have all of these components at the professional line by the right to be able to do its work. Litigation as well needs all of them. You need legals in litigation, you need database management, you need lawmaking, you need all of these budget skills and everything required to run a department for litigation. Constitution, the same thing. Each and every one of them by the left requires the 12 professional lines to function, and human beings will occupy these positions of offices. But as you can see, the objects and the subject matters that will be revealed when people are registering will not appear like this. Nobody will say, I am into budgets, I'm into well-being, and nobody will write his occupation or profession that way. People will always write tailor, carpenter. So the system, the artificial intelligence will now align with the professional code. We'll be able to identify the code that goes with your skill, your expertise or aptitude. Most of these will be revealed as you listen to each of the lectures. It is a school of thought, like I told you earlier. We have to follow each diagram, lecture, one after the other. They always connect. There's always a connection. The three codes, the three elements are connected. Universalism, sectorism, and the 12 by 12 matrix. Like I said earlier, universalism and sectorism combined form the identity code matrix, the last leg of I code. They are integrated. That's why initially this whole thing was called integrated codes of development equation. Before I finally decided to remove the word integration and put the word inclusive, because that's the main thing that we are doing here, inclusive governance. That's the main focus. That is the strongest keyword, inclusive governance, inclusion and diversity. For instance, as we speak, some countries are pursuing this as their main topic. Qatar has inclusion and diversity 2030. I think Nigeria should copy them. African countries should copy them. Qatar is a country where the indigenes are about 15%, and the rest of the people in the country are migrants, so they need diversity management system. Maybe they will buy into this idea. But Africa, this is for you. You need it the more because Qatar is one of the most successful countries in the world. African countries are in trouble because of this factor of divisiveness and the concept of governance that does not work with it, that is being foisted on them by their colonial masters. This is absurd. The youth have to take their future into their hands, understand these problems, and find solution eventually for tomorrow, so that their children will not inherit poverty, which Nigeria has become a champion, the world capital of poverty. We must reject this. The youth must work hard to reject this by learning to lead and leading well in the future, because today the system is already destroyed. And to correct it has to be by ethics. We need ethics to correct this problem. In the absence of ethical governance, there may be no way out of this hook. So we must study I-Code, which is driven by the core values of life, of ethics and code of conduct, and the core values of civilization by occupation and profession.